Good morning, class. I want to start by asking you, what do you think of when you see a picture? Maybe a picture of when you were little? Does it remind you of whatever was happening in that picture? Right, when I look at pictures, it reminds me of a certain trip I took, and it reminds me of the details of something that has already happened. So one of our comprehension strategies is called making a picture or a mental image. So when you're reading, you can make pictures in your head to help you remember what it is that you just read. Sometimes it can help you connect with the story as well when you can make those mental images in your head. So today we are going to read Dragon Scales and Willow Leaves. And this story is about a brother and a sister who see things in a different way. So one of them has a really big imagination, and the other kind of sees and appreciates things the way they are in nature. So let's read. And while we're reading, there will be times where I ask you to stop and make a picture in your head, kind of like a movie of what you think is going to happen based on what we've just read. Jonathan and Rachel were twins, but they didn't look the same, and they didn't see things in the same way either. One day, Jonathan went into the woods to hunt for buried treasure, and Rachel went to look for robins' nests. No sooner had they entered the forest than shadows fell around them. Ahead in a clearing, they saw a flicker of red and heard a stirring, rustling. So before I turn the page, we're going to stop, and I want you to use the words a flicker of red, stirring, and rustling to make a picture in your head. So what do you think they're going to see? Maybe a fire. Okay, that's a good guess. Leaves falling off a tree. Now, what season would it have to be if the leaves were red? Autumn, correct. Dragon, cried Jonathan, and out flew his sword. It slashed through the air, striking and stabbing until the air was full of fluttering dragon scales. Rachel didn't see any dragon. She was watching the leaves of a weeping willow float softly down, making a colored carpet that shimmered and rustled in the breeze. Now, do you think it's okay if we all have different pictures in our heads? Sure, we're going to create our own pictures based on the words we hear. And if they look a little bit different, that's okay. Jonathan charged on ahead while Rachel stopped to pick a forget-me-not. Based on this picture, what do you think a forget-me-not is? Right, it's a type of flower. The path beyond was quiet until the still was broken by shrieks and howls from treetops high above. Ambush, yelled Jonathan. We're being attacked by... Now let's stop and make our picture. So it was quiet, and then you heard shrieks and howls from the treetops. You think it might be people, okay? Squirrels or birds, maybe. Let's see. Forest trolls from every branch of every tree. They threw rocks and spears and waved their clubs. But Jonathan's shield was like a wall, and his sword was an angry bee, and they escaped unarmed. We're safe now, Rachel, he whispered. Rachel was smiling at some quarreling blue jays and frisky squirrels who shook loose some pine needles and an occasional acorn. So, Jonathan made a mental image and he saw forest trolls, and Rachel saw birds and squirrels, similar to the mental images you made. Coming out of the dark forest, they took a shortcut across a rushing stream. But when they heard sloshing and slapping, they turned to face a... What could it be? Stop. Make a mental picture in your head. "Pirate ship!" shouted Jonathan, and at once the ground shuddered with the roar of cannons, and the bursting bombs showered them with spray. Rachel didn't see any pirates. She had discovered some boisterous bullfrogs splashing their noisy way from rock to rock. By now, Jonathan knew they had better make a run for home. And when they reached the hilltop, hundreds and thousands of tall figures with golden hair and suits of green blocked their way. "Vikings!" gasped Jonathan. "Send me the mightiest of your warriors," he shouted. "I'm not afraid." The Vikings were so stunned they froze in terror, while he and Rachel passed safely through. Rachel wondered how the Vikings managed to hide so well among the countless rows of corn, with their ripe ears and golden tassels bending and nodding in the breeze. With his castle now in view, Jonathan ran to meet the 3 knights who bowed and ushered him into the presence of the Queen. So I want you to stop and make a picture of a castle with knights. Have you made your picture? Did it look anything like this? A little bit. Rachel didn't notice the knights or the Queen. She was too happy to be home again. And just in time for supper. So this is especially helpful maybe if you're reading a book that doesn't have as many pictures. You can kind of give yourself a mental image, and then you can picture that you're there, and it'll help you remember what's going on in the story and where the story is taking place.